Hello and welcome to Business 7. In tonight's show, we talk investment in mining, property, but also in communities. And as usual, we take a look at what is happening in the business landscape in Africa. Please stay tuned.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
The past week, once again, was busy on the business front in Africa, and these highlights are brought to you by Reuters.
Here's what's been making the business headlines in sub-Saharan Africa this week. Dozens of trucks, taxis and other vehicles were stranded at Cameroon's border on Thursday after military leaders in Gabon overthrew President Ali Bongo and closed the borders indefinitely. The coup has triggered the steepest daily drop in Gabon's dollar bonds since the height of the global health crisis. Nigeria's dollar bonds also fell on Thursday by more than 2 cents before retracing some losses, TradeWeb data showed. That's after local media reports of an issue with a $3 billion oil-backed loan to state oil company NNPC from Afreximbank. An NNPC spokesman denied the loans had collapsed and said talks were underway. Also in oil, Shell said its Cullinan 1X offshore exploration well in Namibia has not made a commercial oil and gas discovery. Namibia is yet to produce any oil and gas, but has attracted strong interest from international companies after recent discoveries off the coast. The European Union is scouting Africa to back clean jet fuel projects under the Global Gateway Infrastructure Fund, an EU official has said. The EU has pledged half of its $324 billion infrastructure plan, seen as a rival to China's Belt and Road Initiative, to Africa. And finally, Uber launched an electric motorbike service in Kenya on Thursday, its first in Africa. That's as the ride-hailing firm seeks to make its global platform emissions-free by 2040. Uber's general manager for sub-Saharan Africa, Kagiso Hwale, teased that the rollout in Kenya will be followed by a potential announcement this year for the rest of its markets in the region.
The Dunes Mall at Walvish Bay now officially belongs to Oryx Properties. We spoke to Ben Jooste, the CEO of the locally listed property giant, the past weekend at Walvish Bay. We are in Walvish Bay at the Dunes Mall, very special occasion for a locally listed property company, Oryx Properties. With us, the CEO of Oryx Properties, Ben Jooste. Ben, thank you very much for joining us. Why are we at Dunes Mall in Walvish Bay? What is the big occasion?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having us. It's quite exciting. On the 1st of August, Oryx Properties acquired the Dunes Centre. We've been in negotiations with the previous sellers for quite a few years, and we are very happy to announce that we have now completed the transaction. And that is also a testament to us as a Namibian company, but also to the Namibian consumer, to indicate that this asset has been doing very well. Finally, this asset is back in Namibian hands, and that's the exciting bit for us today.
And the price tag of this transaction, $620 million Namibian dollars. That is a massive injection into Walvish Bay. Why Walvish? Why the coastal region?
So Oryx did quite an extensive analysis to see where we feel the economic growth is going to come from in the next few years. I think even if you take the stories that everyone's been talking about, the oil and the hydrogen type of stories away, if you look at this particular economy, if you look at the tourist sector, if you look at the mining sector, if you look at the residential demand, if you look at how good this asset has recovered since COVID versus some of the other regions, and then you start to look at real statistics coming out of the port, then you are very, very sort of confident about this region. And that's also why when we looked at this asset, there's some corresponding land next to this asset where we can further develop. We realize that this is definitely, one, an asset that we want to own, but also two, an asset with a lot of potential for the Walvis Bay economy.
That's very exciting news. Ben, coming back to the very financial side of things, earlier this week you released your year-end results. How does it look?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, our shareholders are very much a combination of institutional, which is all of our pension funds, but also some retail investors. So through Oryx, you have the opportunity for every guy on the street to own a piece of real estate in Namibia. So that's pretty important. Our results, we've had a very good year, a solid year. Look, our returns increased sort of inflationary. But if you look at what's happened in terms of the property fundamentals this year, then we've absorbed a lot of costs which we didn't have in this year, which really relates to financial costs as interest rates have gone up. So whilst our finance costs have increased by more than 20%, we still provided some inflationary returns to our shareholders, and I think that's the solid returns that I'm referring to. From a profit perspective, we did exceptionally well. I think what we saw this year is our vacancies increased a little bit this year, which is not so positive, but we can now see retail starting to recover. We're seeing vacancies starting to reduce in all of our centres, and we are also seeing the consumer starting to spend again, which is very nice. If you look from a tenant perspective, the last few years, the tenants have also been under quite a bit of pressure, but now we're seeing those turnovers increasing. We're seeing the footfall back in the malls, and that's a really good feeling for landlords.
Exciting times. Very glad to have a company like Oryx Properties in the Namibian market, investing in Namibia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Algeta Craig, Namibia Media's Holdings mining specialist, spoke to Anthony Viljoen, the CEO of Andrada, at the Mining Expo last week. Andrada, of course, has the tin mine at Uys, but they're also looking at lithium. Here's what he had to say.
Hi, I'm Anthony Viljoen, CEO of Andrada Mining. We're a Namibian listed company. We've successfully developing critical minerals for the just energy transition. We've restarted the old Uys tin mine that is now our flagship operation, and we are here at the Mining Expo, run as always very well by the Chamber of Mines, and we're here to promote ourselves and promote the story of Namibia. We heard great news this morning from the ministry, the Honourable Tom Malwindo, encouraging investment, encouraging a collaborative approach, and making sure that Namibians benefit from processed material. And that's exactly what we at Andrada do. We're driving high value exports of processed Namibian material for the just energy transition.
Let me quickly show you something. Don't worry. Next time, I check nice.
Thanks, but it's okay. FNB Insurance checks nicer.
At FNB Insurance, we provide cover for all your valuables, from your phone to your laptop to your car. FNB Insurance. You value it, we cover it. T's and C's apply.
Capricorn Group has just released a report in which they set out how much they pumped into community and welfare programs over the past year. We are joined in the studio by Marlize Horn. She is Capricorn's Group Executive for Branding and Corporate Affairs, as well as the Executive Officer of the Capricorn Foundation. Welcome back to the studio, Marlize Horn, the Group Executive of Branding and Corporate Affairs at a Capricorn Group, as well as the Executive Officer of the Capricorn Foundation. Marlize, the group has just released your corporate social report. Firstly, before we start talking about that, what is a corporate social report?
Joe Marie, evening, and thank you for hosting me. Yeah, we at Capricorn Group refer to it as our social value report, which other companies call this corporate social responsibility report, because for us it's about the value that we create through our social contribution.
Social contribution, of course, meaning giving back to the most vulnerable in communities and addressing various social issues across the Namibian and the Botswana landscape.
Yes, so our social value report actually covers not only the Capricorn Foundation's activities, but also the activities of our subsidiaries. That includes Bank Windhoek, Capricorn Asset Management and Intrepo, and then also in Botswana, our banking subsidiary there.
Well, I had a peek view at the report already, and extremely encouraging. You have a 33% increase year on year in what you've pumped into social projects in Namibia and in Botswana.
Yeah.
Give us a rundown of those figures.
Yes, Jo Marie, it's really heartwarming to be able to pump that amount of money back into the community. And, you know, for this past financial year, we spent more than 21.7 million in our communities. And, you know, we are fortunate to work for a group like Capricorn Group that is making profit, good profits, and we are able to plow that back into our communities. So, as I said, that 21.7 million represents the Capricorn Foundation, but then also the CSR activities of our subsidiaries. Most notably, I think the viewers would recognize Bank Windhoek's Cancer Apple project.
Yes, synonymous, absolutely synonymous over the years. We'll get back to some of the projects in more detail in a minute, but we're talking about 32 projects that Capricorn is involved in. How do you go about selecting these projects?
Yeah, Jo Marie, that is just for the foundation.
Yes.
Where we have 32 projects, and that how we assess projects is really in line with our focus areas. We focus on job creation, education, and then also vulnerability programs. So if an application falls in that area, and also health, we then also assess it against our SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that we prioritized, and also if it's in line with the Harambee Prosperity Plan social progression pillar. You know, so we cannot support all projects that apply, but we really try and focus on the ones where we can make the biggest impact, and that will address a societal issue. For example, education, where we focus on early childhood development as our main focus in education.
And coming back to the projects, of course, we can't talk about all 32 of them just from the foundation side, but can you highlight some of the big ones?
Yeah, the last year we actually launched our signature project, the Capricorn Foundation Food Waste Challenge, that we also discussed in the studio some time ago, and that was really to address the social issue of food insecurity, which is a major problem in Namibia. And through that food waste challenge, we really created a lot of awareness around the issue of food waste, and we we're privileged to have NMH also on board as a partner. So, you know, in the new financial year, we will also look at more signature projects, and we are looking specifically at job creation for the youth and also vocational skills training. But, you know, like I said earlier, there are a number of social challenges out there, and we have to be very focused on what we support and contribute to.
You mentioned the food waste challenge. That didn't just create awareness, but some of the solutions that came out of there, the innovation behind it, and the empowerment of a group like Capricorn then throwing its weight behind these projects, it's simply astonishing.
Yes, and like I said, you know, we had a number of partners that came on board to support us in that, and that is another aspect that I would like to just emphasize. You know, Capricorn Group is really committed to collaborate with like-minded organizations, and we recognize that we cannot do this on our own. So in the past 3 years since we established the foundation, we've really been on a mission to find partners that, you know, have similar views and priorities as us, and also values, and also non-governmental organizations that we can support and enable them and empower them to do what they do in the communities. For example, Imago Dei, they are one of our implementation partners, and through Imago Dei we support a number of projects, but you know, we just don't have the resources to do it ourselves. So you need partners that can collaborate with you and help you to implement your projects.
And a listed company like Capricorn, the fact that you are transparent and open about your corporate social welfare or your investment in that area, this is becoming more and more important in the reporting and the investment landscape.
Yes, this social value report that we launched today is actually preceding our integrated report launch, which will be published next week when we announce our annual financial results. And you are right, more and more shareholders, but also investors, look at your contribution to society as a whole, not only through your community projects, but, you know, are you paying your taxes? Are you looking at your employees? Are you, you know, focused on local suppliers or not? You know, where is the money going? The value that you create through your profits, where is that value going? So we are very transparent in terms of how the value that we've created, how that benefits all our stakeholders, like in this case the community, through our social value report.
I want to ask you a personal question. As a woman, how important is it to you to be the executive officer of the Capricorn Foundation?
Jo Marie, it's really a passion for me. I think I mentioned in a previous interview with you, I've been now with the group 27 years, and I've been fortunate to establish the Cancer Apple Project 23 years ago, and also established the Bank Windhoek Social Investment Fund, which evolved now in the Capricorn Foundation. So it's always been a passion of mine, and I'm very privileged that my company allows me to live out that passion and that we can really make a difference. And you know, when you visit these projects, it's just amazing what the women out there does with so little, in terms of, you know, having a pre-primary setup in a shack, but it's neat. The children are you know, disciplined, and from the outside it just looks like a shack, but inside it's love and care and attention. And it is those examples that, you know, encourages me to seek more of those success stories where women are really, despite the challenges they face, that they are making a big difference.
In the coming financial year, will you sort of stay on the same course, or are you looking at deviating or including some new projects?
We will definitely stay within our focus areas, but where we had a big focus on the issue of food waste in the last year, we really want to look at the issue of youth unemployment and just try and unpack and explore you know, what the opportunities are to address that issue, and, you know, to find partners and other organizations that are like-minded that we can collaborate on and try and address the issue.
We're certainly looking forward to seeing what you get up to in your next financial year. Of course, if you want to have a look at the report, it's a sizable report. You can find it on Capricorn Group's website, and you just go to Capricorn Foundation. There's a little icon there, and you can get the entire report there. It's visually stunning, and the information contained in it is certainly inspiring. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jo-Marie.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
African leaders gathered in Kenya this week to discuss climate change goals and the financing thereof. Reuters filed this report.
As African leaders gathered for a climate summit in Nairobi, the president of the upcoming COP28 delivered this grim assessment.
The world is losing the race to secure the goals of the Paris Agreement. And the world is struggling to keep 1.5 within reach.
It comes as African leaders call for changes to what they say is an unfair international climate finance system. On Tuesday, Kenya's President William Ruto complained that African countries, some with high debt loads, pay 5 times as much as other borrowers in interest.
The architecture is set up in a manner that if you borrow, it will be difficult for you to pay. We need a conversation, and a very candid conversation, and we are saying this in all honesty, around how do we get concessional funding.
The inaugural Africa Climate Summit is focused on mobilizing financing for Africa's response to climate change. While Africa is suffering from some of the most severe impacts of climate change, researchers say the continent only receives about 12% of the financing it needs to cope. Hundreds of millions of dollars of investments in sustainable development projects were announced on Monday. On Tuesday, the UAE pledged $4.5 billion to develop 15 gigawatts of clean power in Africa by 2030. Germany also announced $482 million in financing, including funding for a green hydrogen project in Kenya. The United States committed $30 million to supporting climate resilience and food security efforts. African officials say the investments are welcome, but that a bigger transformation is needed. They plan to push for the expansion of special drawing rights at the International Monetary Fund at the upcoming COP28 Climate Summit.
That's it for this week's Business 7. We're playing out with a Reuters report on how Lagos found a solution to the Nigerian city's chronic traffic problems. Until next week, goodbye.
Traffic congestion in Nigeria's commercial capital Lagos is notorious. And that's why passengers in Africa's most populous city were welcoming the maiden voyage of a long-awaited light rail service on Monday.
This is really time-saving.
The metro system was first mooted 4 decades ago. Its initial 8-mile phase, dubbed the Blue Line, links the mainland where most people live with the affluent Lagos Island, where many businesses are headquartered. Passenger Anthony Akwa said making that journey by road is very unpredictable.
We can't plan our life. You can't tell somebody in Ireland that you are coming within 1 hour because you don't know how the road is going to be. But with train, it's pretty straightforward because you know when you are going to leave and when you are going to reach your destination.
Lagos state officials have said that a journey that once took more than 2 hours will now take 15 minutes. The first phase was built by China's Civil Engineering Construction Corp. Work on the second phase is expected to begin later this year. On completion, officials say the metro is expected to carry 500,000 passengers every day.